once we had somebody who had tremendous movie star appeal, it frees you up to think about taking a different kind of risk. I don't know what the casting of Lisbeth would have been had it not been for Daniel Craig. It's kind of, you start there. It's really Blomqvist's movie. He's the way in. It's a two-hander, but it really revolves around his, I mean, even by Swedish standards, a more sort of conventional character, and then she's this sort of orbiting satellite.
Who is it?
It's Mikael Blomqvist.
Actually, I'm not really up yet.
May I come in, please?
I feel like if the story was only about Lisbeth, it wouldn't work. None of the books are only about her.
Hi.
I've done other stories where you're dealing with parallel stories or parallel characters. In some cases, they don't get together until the end. Your hope is that each one of the stories is interesting in and of itself, so that an audience isn't kind of more interested in one than the other. And I think in this case, they're equally interesting. His story and her story and how they come together and how they work together and what they're each going through ultimately is why it works, I think.
You know, what would she be like today, 25 years later? And I think Lisbeth is sort of exactly who she would be. You know, she's traded in the horse for a motorcycle. She's gotten rid of Mr. Nielsen. She has her computer now, and she steals from the bad guys and lives by a moral code.
The books have been such an enormous success all over the world, and strangely enough, people think that they actually describe what Sweden is like. You've been here a while now. You know, there's not a lot of this going on here. It's entertainment, but it comes out of the discussions that exist in Sweden. It doesn't come out of the reality of Sweden. Women are not more abused here than anywhere else in the world, rather less. And women's position is much stronger here than anywhere else in the world. And you notice that when you go to a bar and you get picked up.
Men here don't hold open a door for women. They don't take their back. Like, there isn't that, which is great, like, to an extent. But it's a very different dynamic between men and women here.
You know, at the end of the day, I don't really care why somebody writes something or why somebody does something. It's, you know, you're presenting something, and you can't assume or count on people knowing some sort of backstory. And that, I mean, honestly, that was one of the challenges of this, is that in a book, you know, you can spend hundreds of pages talking about backstory, and in a film you can't. So a lot of the backstories of these characters have to be conveyed in the present day action. And it is, but it's a different way of approaching it.
From a plotting standpoint, there was almost nothing that you could, I mean, there were sort of signposts that you could take for the script, but, you know, you had to cut it by probably 75%. I mean, there's so much plot, it's so dense, and there's so many characters.
There were certain, I wouldn't even say plot lines, certain almost mini plot lines that I, you know, even as I was reading it with an eye to writing the script, I knew could go. And so once those fell out, you know, what I was left with was, you know, not that long, not ridiculously long.
It was going to be you're going to have to find the thing that you were interested in it, and the thing that I was interested in is these two characters. I think and I think that's probably what's powered it to the kind of cultural phenomenon that it is. I think that people are enormously compelled about this, you know, the Larson idea of Pippi Longstocking and her bimbo boyfriend.